They're banning non-competes.
Sometimes the best thing to do in instances is to do nothing.
You guys determine the tone in the business. Like all of this other chitter chatter and drama or whatever is going to die off. Will Smith slapped that guy real hard.
Yeah.
I've never seen a man slap another man. That was kind of strange.
I thought it was fake. Welcome to the Seven Figure Salon podcast with Rachel and Drew. I'm Drew.
I'm Rachel.
Welcome to the show. We're going to talk about something really interesting today, something that just passed on the federal level, and that is the Federal Trade Commission's new law, I guess?
It's a ban, actually.
Ban? Yeah.
They're banning non-competes, past and present. So if you had a non-compete with one of your stylists, doesn't matter. It's gone. Poof. There are no more non-competes allowed in the entire, in all industries, not just in our industry, in all industries. And I want to talk today about, number one, our take on it, because we have had non-competes in some of our team agreements before, and what you can do on your end if that is something that worries you or that you are, nervous about, and what you can do, and really what actually matters when you think about a non-compete. Like, what actually are you trying to protect in your business by having that type of document in place? And we have some alternatives of what you can do to be able to just kind of protect yourself, protect, what you've created. So anyway, the FTC is a Federal Trade Commission. And so as we mentioned, there was a ban on non-competes. So in our salon, the most important thing to me to have in place in your business is a non-solicitation agreement, a non-solicitation and potentially a non-disclosure agreement. All right. So otherwise known as an NSA or an NDA. So the non-solicitation, I think, is the most important thing of all. And the reason why is because if and when someone wants to move on, which is totally fine. Like if somebody doesn't want to work with your business anymore, if somebody doesn't want to, rent or be there or want to be a part of it or grow with the company, whatever, no big deal. Like if somebody wants to go, let them go.
It's going to happen.
It's going to happen for sure. But when that happens, what we don't want, which is why the non-solicitation agreement is so important, is you don't need them rallying everyone up to peace out with them, all right, with the hopes of like the grass is greener. Because most times what ends up happening when you see a walkout, there's usually one initiator. There's one initiator, and because they are afraid to jump over the fence and go pursue something else that's new, they want to try to bring a few friends with them. And I've seen it happen. It happens. Our industry is notorious for this, for walkouts. And
the dreaded walkout.
The dreaded walkout, yeah. And it happens. Like, we've had walkouts, and it sucks. But I will tell you, every single time that has happened, we come back stronger, and we grow faster, and we recover quicker than ever. And it's bound to happen in your business. If you're a salon owner listening to this, like, you've probably already had it happen. And sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but it might likely happen in your journey as a salon owner. Yeah, and
don't fear it. It's going to happen. It's part of the growth process, and we'll talk a little bit more about where the walkout actually happens, and the beginning is in the leadership of the owner. But I want to kind of go over what a non-compete agreement really is, and what it is contracts that companies use to reduce competition and prevent the spread of trade secrets. So that's important to know that has been disbanded. Right. So the spread of your trade secrets, that's a non-compete, that no longer holds true anymore. So you need to know that as a business owner, but you also need to not be afraid of people moving on. Right. They think a lot of that comes from the owner's fear of loss or fear of like, oh, there's only so many people I can help, and we're all competing in this red ocean together. But the truth is there is a gazillion. There's a lot of opportunity for you and everyone else.
Plenty to go around. There's plenty of clients to go around. There's plenty of stylists to go around. There really aren't that many new, like, groundbreaking ideas that have never been like thought of before. And what's interesting, especially with this non-compete ban happening, not just in the salon, but even on the educational level in the industry, I think it's really interesting because you're going to have a lot of you have a lot of really amazing creative people who have maybe signed on with a brand to educate for a brand, and it didn't end up turning out or panning out the way that they hoped it would. What I mean by that is, like, you as a salon owner, part of your I don't know, your journey is like someday, one day you want to be an educator. That's kind of sort of like what people want to do. Like there's like different milestones. It's like, oh, I'm a stylist. I want to open a salon one day. Check. Open my salon one day. Now what's next? Like I want to be an educator. And for me, that was something that was really important to me. And that was something that I pursued. But, you know, big brands are likely going to get you to sign a non-compete. And when they do, even if let's say you work with them for a few months and you're like, oh my gosh, I love this. I want to be here forever. Or what I see a lot of is a lot of people are like, wow, this is a complete shit show. I don't want to work with this brand anymore. And they want to leave. And I see a huge turnover of educators in the industry, whether it be color brands, cutting brands, extension brands. There's this revolving door of educators. And the reason why is because what something appears to be on this side of the mirror is very different sometimes when you cross over to the other side. You start to see things that you don't necessarily want to be a part of. And what sucks about that is if you've signed a non-compete, now you could potentially have found yourself in a situation where you can't even educate at all for a certain period of time. And that's a really horrible place to be. And so I think the non-compete ban is actually a good thing because it's going to give everybody a fair playing field. And it's going to allow for people to be able to pursue things that they want to pursue. And it's also going to put an end to a bunch of bullshit that's been going on in the industry and in the salons for a very long time.
Yeah, you can't tell other people that they can't pursue the American dream or competition and commerce. Like it's part of the process. And if you know what you're doing, you're going to do fine. And if you don't know what you're doing, you're just going to make mistakes until you figure it out. Right. So another thing I want to go over is the difference between, like, I want to read to you what a non-solicitation is. A non-solicitation is different than a non-compete. So just so we can have some clarity. And also, if you know a salon owner or someone who needs to hear this and needs to educate themselves on what this is, share this podcast with them. Just go into the share section on Spotify or wherever you're hearing this, and then send them copy that link, send it to them in a text message, because I think everyone needs to know this.
There's a huge difference. And like this, having a non-solicitation does not mean that you have a non-compete. It's two completely separate types of documents.
Yeah, so a non-solicitation in contract law refers to an agreement typically between an employer and an employee that prohibits an employee from utilizing the company's clients, customers, and contact list for personal gain upon leaving the company.
That's the good shit. That's the stuff you need to have in your salon.
Right. So
I am not worried about non-competes at all. I know there are probably a lot of people out there like, oh my gosh, like it's like this big, huge bad news thing for them. I don't think there's anything wrong with non-competes being banned at all, past or present ones. I'm more interested in that non-solicitation. And that's the thing that it's like, you know what, if you want to go do something else, don't sit here and export a client list on your way out. Don't export, all of our data, all of the email addresses, you name it, on the way out. And that's why we have a non-solicitation inside of our team agreements, because that is notoriously happening in salons when stylists leave. And that client list does not belong to the stylist. That client list was provided, that every name on that list, that client gave their information to the salon in the salon database, their credit card information, their email, their phone number, their address, and that information was not directly given to the stylist. So non-solicitations are super, super important, and I'm very glad that they're here to stay.
Yeah, and there's a third thing I want to read to you, a non-disclosure agreement, and what that is and the difference between it from the previous. A non-disclosure agreement is a contract by which one or more parties agree not to disclose confidential information that they have shared with each other as a necessary part of doing business together. That is an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement. So it's important that you know the difference between the three.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, like, it's 2024. A lot of times when you're like sharing an idea with someone, like, and being super honest here, like if somebody, and I've had this happen, there was this guy locally that was like, oh, I want you guys to be part of this TV show that we're coming out with. And I want you to sign this NDA before I can talk to you about it. And I'm like, this is so stupid. Like, just tell me about the TV show. Like if it's like somebody like that like you don't have a relationship with, and it's just kind of like, you're just kind of like, use your instincts and your inner voice to know that, like, okay, that's I'm not going to sit here and sign a non-disclosure with like this slimy dude that I've never met.
Yeah.
But non-disclosure agreements are not a bad thing. Like if you have your stylist or if you're an educator and you have someone sign this, it shouldn't be a big deal. The importance of it is hey, during your journey here with us, there's going to be some really private, like groundbreaking things that you're going to learn or hear or be a part of. And we just want to make sure, like, and a lot of times for us, it's like if we talk about a non-disclosure with our team, it's more so we're developing techniques, we're developing things, we developed brands, like we had non-disclosures to be able to keep that stuff private before we were able to launch. So it's important that it's more so to protect a type of launch or something of that nature, or to protect education or proprietary information that that's in the process of either being trademarked, patented, used in education, stuff like that.
So quick summary, non-competes are out, non-solicitations are in, non-disclosure agreements are in.
Yeah.
So knowing the difference between those three and how to build a moat around your business and not be overly protective of your company, but also have the basics in place is important as a business owner. Because if you're small, these things aren't going to matter. What happens is you end up not getting these things dialed in until you are in deep water. So really have your legal organized. It is worth it to have an attorney go through with you and lay out some of these things. Don't go to Google and pull a template off of Google and then make that your
We're
jam.
actually going to give you guys a template, and I'm going to include that in the description below. I'm going to send you a template to our non-solicitation agreement. And we have a coaching program. It's called 7-Figure Salon. We have clients that use this agreement all the time. This agreement works. It works in all the different states. If you're international, obviously check with your attorney wherever you're located. But this
Canadian friends.
Yeah, this non-solicitation agreement is totally fine here in the United States. So, but yeah, if you're listening to this and you're like, okay, I don't have any of these in my business, or I had a non-compete, now I have nothing. Honestly, I think the non-compete is the least important of the three. I think the most important one is non-solicitation, and I would recommend definitely having that in your business for lots of reasons, but also to protect your clients' information and also to protect the team that you have worked so hard to build,
And what would you suggest to them, Rachel Page Thomas, if they don't have these things in place, yet they're a year and a half in and they have a team, and then they don't have these things in place? Would you suggest that they go and implement these things?
That's a hard place to be, because there's always going to be like, you've got history and then anyone new. Like, start it with anyone new for sure. And then obviously start implementing it to your current people. I think the best time of the year to start implementing anything new is like the beginning of the year. In January, you're updating paperwork, you're launching new pricing structure, you're launching new policies, et cetera, et cetera. I think that's like the best window of time to do anything new. But don't feel like you are calendar locked or grid locked where you can't make a decision. And I've seen this happen where a walkout happens and the owner is then trying to like pass out documents to everyone. Don't freaking do that.
It's weird.
It's super weird. Worst timing ever. It may seem like the best timing, but what you're going to do is now scare everybody off. So
be more proactive rather than reactive in situations like this with people.
And we have a client that actually she just had one stylist leave, and this happens all the time. People come, people go. But she had a stylist leave, and obviously it feels like an earthquake went through her business. But, and she was messaging me, and she's like upset. And she's like, oh my gosh, I'm so stressed out. I live here, my business back home. We had a stylist leave. What do I do? And I said, I understand you're not like living in state anymore. I was like, however, you guys determine the tone in the business. Like you come in, you're having a good day, you're positive, you're being a great leader. Like all of this other chitter chatter and drama or whatever is going to die off like in 48 hours. Like the more attention you give to it, the longer that whole feeling is going to stay. And
I have a saying, I don't know if I invented this or heard it. I probably heard it somewhere, but sometimes the best thing to do in instances is to do nothing. A lot of times you see this in like celebrities and things like that, where there's this big uproar about something, they just ignore it. Ignore it.
Like when Brunson, like
Russell Brunson,
yeah,
or
like, can you believe this shit?
Will Smith slapping people like
something?
that. Like that's a big thing, but they ignore it. Like they don't acknowledge it. It goes away eventually, even if it feels like even if it feels like it's not going to go away well.
Will Smith slapped that guy real hard.
Yeah.
I've never seen a man slap another man. That was kind of strange.
I thought it was fake.
I just had to, I think I stumbled upon this one video where it was just like again and again and again. And I was like, oh man.
Or the power slaps. Do you see the power slaps?
That new show. Yeah. Yeah.
That's crazy. I would never do that.
Yeah, no. Nope. But like, think about timing, think about the tone, think about, you know, the fact that you determine the weather in your salon. It's not, you know, and I know it's hard. I know, especially if it's like your top producer, if it's like someone you're really close with, but at the end of the day, focus on what you can actually control, which is the fact that you can hopefully control yourself. You can be a good leader. You can set the tone for the day. You can get everybody fired up and having, you know, you got to paint vision every day. You got to paint vision of where you're going, what you're doing, what great things you have on the horizon. Like, people want to be a part of something that's growing. People do not want to be a part of something that's stagnant and boring.
And what you're gonna, and then also how they're going to get there.
Yeah.
So you got to paint the vision, but you also got to be able to manage and communicate and articulate specifically how you're going to get your team to where they want to go. And you're going to get to where you want to go by your team getting their goals. So you have to lead and guide people through the lens of what matters to them, not you. Right? You are a guide. You are not the man or woman on the pedestal preaching the good word. Like, that's not a good place to be, because you're going to create enemies there, right? You want to lead from the back. You want to be in there with them, and you want to guide them to what matters to them. Are they trying to buy a house? Are they trying to get their first car? Are they trying to get their credit up? What are they trying to do? Connect with your team and guide them through a career path process. That's how you get your salon to do $1 million, $2 million, $3 million. That's how you grow.
Yeah. And the non-compete thing, like, that's, like, there wasn't anything to do or say necessarily to our team about it. It's just like, okay, cool, like, whatever. That's banned. Awesome. Like, no big deal. You don't need to put out a mass email to people. If you're deciding in your salon that you're going to roll out non-solicitation agreements or things like that, again, ideally January, end of the year, beginning of the year, that's usually a good time to be able to, like, have a good full calendar year
Makes
of
sense.
the same policy, you know, and a lot of times in January, you're really talking about more vision and goals, and people are more excited and motivated around that time of year. So I would recommend doing something like that then. But, you know, again, the timing has to be right. If there's no reason to do it, you're not having any issues in your business, you have a very loyal, very long-standing team, I'm not sure that I would do it at all, you know, with any existing people. I think you could always start that new as part of your onboarding paperwork for any new people, but I don't think you should rock the boat if the boat's sailing just fine.
Yeah.
Yep.
100%.
Yep.
So I think we'll wrap it up on that. Just wanted to make a quick podcast going through what's going on with the
FTC.
FTC and it's the Federal Trade Commission. If you want to know what the FTC is, always good to look at and know what's going on there. But you guys have a great day. Thanks for listening.
See you on the next episode.